I've created to show a little more about the side-by-side comparison, because it could be that during when I was walking over the earlier services, it could have been not properly understood. This is where, right, like specifically for the workload type, ECSs, they are more suitable for microservices, monoliths that we want to convert to a microservice, and containerized applications. Kubernetes, and also what I'll say is that applications that are a little more simpler, or that say have one or two containers that are required, that is what I will say to use for ECS. For EKS is when we have containerized and we want to have microservices as well. That is the common part. But where we foresee that the growth is going to be a lot more, or one of the things that we at Arina Technologies consistently persist our customers give us the non-functional requirements. And one of the things the non-functional requirements is the growth that the business is expecting. So if the business is expecting anticipated growth, a lot more services, lot more inter and intra-service interaction, that is one thing that we would definitely recommend to go with EKS because of the ecosystem surrounding it. Ecosystem in terms of the CI/CD, the Helm chart deployment, the label tagging that goes with it, the support in Terraform. So that is where it is something that we would recommend for that particular workload type. Ease of use, we saw that ECS is simpler to use compared to EKS. ECS, what you would do is you would just create a cluster. In the cluster, create a service, and in the service, you could have task created. You would provide a capacity provider and have the right mapping done. That could be done. So that is the simple setup, and you would be kind of out of the gate running. Kubernetes, as you saw, is a lot more complex. You first have to deploy. You first have to install the kubectl as well as EKS as part of the setup. For your cluster, you would have to have in a VPC. Even in ECS, you would have to have in a VPC, but you will also have to have the node groups. You will have to have the nodes. You will have to have the namespaces set up, something that is again optional in ECS. So Kubernetes, there are a lot of moving parts that are not there in ECS, which is where I'm saying that Kubernetes is going to be complex compared to ECS. Deployment, it is the standard. When I say deployment, I mean infrastructure as a code, this provisioning of the setup. The ECS supports CloudFormation, Terraform, and then via CI/CD, you deploy the code changes that are there. CI/CD could be code pipeline or GitHub Actions, any of those that are there. Kubernetes, you could also have it via Terraform, CloudFormation, but specifically for Kubernetes, there is Helm charts that is there. And Kubernetes also provides a lot more administration options apart from AWS, that is like Rancher or Argo CD for CI/CD. So there's a lot more community support for Kubernetes than there is for ECS out there. Service discovery, it is using ECS native services, that is the AWS provides services. While Kubernetes, as I said, there's a lot better ecosystem for Kubernetes, such as Istio and Cilium and, a lot of other third-party providers that and many customers have been using it. So there is a lot of community support out there. Security, for ECS, one would be using IAM integration, AWS, Secrets Manager, KMS, that is for the application and persistence of the setup. But again, as I said earlier, that you wouldn't want to have your app their ECS cluster or even EKS fronted sitting in directly a public subnet. You would want to have it fronted via load balancer to ensure it is a WAF and it is proper and secure. In Kubernetes, it is provides out of the box RBAC policies. Kubernetes itself provides those policies along with the AWS native integration. So Kubernetes, it has a lot more security options compared to the AWS native ones that is there. So something to watch out. But again, do we need so many security options? Does AWS suffices? Yes, it does suffice. But what is the benefit? It just is a little more like something that in case you want to do standalone, that is where something we'll get into the last point, the cloud agnostic part of it. The resource control, how the resource control is done, and that is what we saw in ECS. We use services or we use tasks. Tasks are nothing but we provide the task definition, which is again the Docker container that is uploaded in ECR or in a public repository that is used. The resources that are spun is using EC2 or Fargate. And that is where, if it is Fargate, AWS manages the provisioning of the infrastructure, the auto-scaling of it. If it is EC2, you'll have to go about creating a launch template, as well as the auto-scaling groups that are there. For EKS, the resource controls are using the pod and node resource allocation. Again, this is also same. We will be either using ECS, EC2, or whether we'll be using Fargate for that. But it is pretty much we'll have to be using for the pod node resource allocation of that. Cost model, we only pay for the EC2 instances. The service, the cluster management is not what we only pay for the compute part of it. And we only pay for the task placement strategies. Likewise, for Kubernetes as well, we just pay for the cluster as well as the compute setup that is there. It is mainly the compute that is set. The cluster management is also not totally out cost actually. Integration with CI/CD, as I said, right? It is kind of seamless integration with code pipeline, with GitHub Actions. It is native out of the box. EKS as well. It is native out of the box. There is not much difference. It is very much compatible with code pipeline. It is, but again, the advantage of CI/CD like integration, there are a lot of third-party tools. If in case we don't want to go with, say, code pipeline, GitHub Actions, there's going to be a lot more community support for GitHub Actions compared to ECS. So that is definitely something to look for. Use cases flexibility. It is versatile with various workloads. And what does various workloads mean? Something that is a little more simpler compared to Kubernetes, which is a lot more complex. And this is again where I put the best for Kubernetes workloads, which is again something that is like more for complex applications or enterprise scale applications. For a simple application, I would recommend using Kubernetes because the overhead itself for provisioning it up could outweigh the benefits of it. And again, best practice, something as I said, don't have a task directly in front and put it as part of the cluster. Let it be as part of a service. If you want to go with the no-ops model, go with Fargate. If you want to go with EC2, that's fine as well. But take care of the golden, like hardening of the VMs, creating golden images, creating the pipelines. That whole thing one will have to take care to ensure that your security posture is a lot better. With Kubernetes as well, like you would be having the RBAC policies, you would be having the Helm chart setup, you would be having the load balancer. If you want to go with AWS load balancer, you could do that. Or if you want to go with inbuilt Kubernetes load balancer providers, you could use that as well. So something to keep in mind on. And again, with EKS, you could also use Fargate as well. So something that. Now the last part is important because ECS is only provided by AWS. So if your enterprise, or if you want to have the flexibility of eventually later on moving out to another cloud provider, ECS will not be the right choice for you. EKS will be a right choice for you because it is open source. It is cloud agnostic, the same cluster setup. If not an EKS, you could always move it to AKS, in Azure Kubernetes, in GKE, probably in OpenShift, or in any of these other container platforms that could be set up. So, and this is where one of the things we always tell our customers is, what is your vision? What is your cloud enterprise strategy? So that is, if the customer says that, okay, I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket, definitely we'll recommend that, okay, go with a cloud agnostic strategy. If they say, yeah, we have a good relationship with AWS, we have everything, all the workloads with them, then yes, then go with ECS. And that is where we have seen a lot of customers as part of this. So I hope this slide provides a good comparison. Feel free to drop in any comments or if any specific part you want to go into, because that itself is a subject of its own. Now, I spoke about the use cases and considerations, but just provide a little bit overview again. I wouldn't take much time in this part, but ECS use cases, it's like more of microservices, batch processing, which are something simple applications. I wouldn't want to spend a lot of effort in setting up the cluster. I'll just go with ECS. EKS, as I said, is more complex, more for hybrid environments and application setup. Hybrid environment, if like say you have a cluster spanning on-prem and cloud, and we have seen that, and you already have the provisioning. EKS is good for simple ones. I wouldn't recommend it. Considerations like cost, complexity, integration, something I spoke about. And this, I believe, this all provides the decision factors, right? That is when to use ECS and EKS. What are the key takeaways from our perspective and the next steps? So feel free to drop in a comment on what are the next things that you would want to hear, or any particular topic you want to get into. Please like, subscribe, share the video. Please contact us for any of your cloud requirements or cloud consulting requirements. We have decades of experience in cloud, and we can definitely help your organization take the right step in cloud. With that, thank you, and see you in the next video.